Welcome to Still with Purpose. This is Amanda and Christy.
Our goal is to dig deep and discuss real, raw subjects in pursuit of greater self-awareness, positive transformation and healing, and to link arms and journey with you to find purpose and passion in life. Welcome back, everyone. We are talking about who have you been asking to define your worth? Amanda's got a quote for us. What is it, Amanda?
In search of worth, we often turn to those whose perspective is as limited as our own. It's a known fact that humans crave validation and belonging, right? The problem with this need is that we try and fill it by asking others in many ways who we are and what value do we bring to the table. I know at one point I was the youngest of 5 in a mixed family, and I found out quickly if I wanted to be seen or heard, my humor would bring laughter and fun to that setting, and that's how I got validation and was seen. This is what I brought to the table. That's it in my eyes. And I got attention, and then I kept recreating it over and over in my life. Humor has been a great asset for me, and eventually learned other things that I brought to the table. But that was probably my first one where I realized, oh, this is a skill set, and this is how I'm seen and validated.
I think too, physical appearance can be a source of validation. It can also be a source of negativity. And, there's been in the last 5 to 10 years, a lot of pushback on the culture that we live in, where physical appearance has such a huge prominence in our culture, but it's very easy to feel like your worth is based on what other people think of your physical appearance. I've had that experience my whole life. You use the term pendulum swing quite a bit. I think I pendulum swung very far the last several years into I love not wearing makeup, as I have lip gloss on right now, but I love going places with no makeup and not feeling like I have to dress to the nines or wear trendy clothing. I can wear my flannels and my jeans and no makeup and feel okay about it. But there was a time in my life where I did not feel secure enough in that because my validation was coming from the compliments or the looks that I felt like were proving my value.
I agree with that. And I'm from Colorado, so Colorado hot is a little bit different. It's just allowed me to be extremely tree hugger looking flannels and stuff like that. But I can tell you, when I dress up for an event and I'm wearing heels and a nice fitting dress, I get way different attention than I do on a daily. I don't really strive for that. That's not how I get my validation. It's nice to hear the compliments, but inside I'm thinking, what, do I look like I rolled off a hay cart every other day? I have no clue why I came up with that.
A hay cart?
I've never rolled off a hay cart ever.
What is a hay cart? Is that a wagon?
No idea. My point being, everyone figures out how they get their validation and to fill that void.
I have a lot of respect and admiration for Pamela Anderson just because of this very thing, how she's gone completely natural. And she'll talk about how you have to come to these realizations on your own. No one could have told her years ago, this is how you should dress, or, you should go with no makeup. She wouldn't have believed them. She wouldn't have done it. And I think that's so true.
Modeling.
Yeah, it's so true. You come to these aha moments in your life, or I have, where it's like, oh my gosh, things are so clear. I don't need the makeup. I don't need the trendy clothing. And I actually feel better about myself when I don't, because I'm not getting that false validation that I can see right through, But no one could have told me that years ago when I still felt like that's how I got my worth.
Right.
Or that's what spoke to my worth.
Right. I've found as a photographer of stuff like ropes course photography, I get the most gorgeous pictures of the participants, and they are sweaty, dirty, disgusting on the outside, but internally their beauty is just magnificent, and their eyes are shining and they're awake and they're vibrant. Some of the most beautiful photos I've gotten are not what you would expect. They are not prim and proper. They are not put together. They probably aren't even wearing makeup. And that's a joy of mine, is to take photos like that to show them how incredibly beautiful they are when they're actually going on a risk or past their fear or pushing past these things that they've been fighting. And it's just cool. It's very humbling, honestly.
I love how you said their internal beauty is showing through and shining through. Maybe that's the feeling then that I've come to, or other people have come to in their lives, where the physical appearance no longer matters as much, is because that realization that internal beauty really is more important and really does show through and overshadow anything on the outside.
Absolutely. You could see a gorgeous, drop dead, gorgeous human. And if they have a horrible character and personality, I don't find them attractive at all.
Totally.
I wouldn't even give you the time of day, honestly.
Yeah.
'Cause it's not the standard values and morals. I can get ready in 10 minutes. Let's just put it that way. Whether I'm wearing a dress or not. It's just because that's been my job, is you have 30 minutes to be in a formal now and you're shooting that. So I have absolutely learned how to get ready very quickly. I do not want to be with a man that I have to wait on as he primps his outward appearance, but has never taken the time to work on himself and his inner, I don't want to say beauty, but his inner vibrance, I guess.
Agreed.
And there's nothing hotter than a guy that works on himself, personally.
The internal self, not the external. Yeah.
Yes. That's figuring out how to be a better them.
Yeah. That's beautiful. And actually, I say I have on lip gloss. It's my trusted Aquifer. This is not a paid advertisement, but I'm going to put more on.
But it could be.
It could be. It could be. I live and die by Aquifer. I have it everywhere, all over my house. And actually, I started using it when my kids were little. And so now
I was going to say that's the last time I used it was for butt rashes.
Yeah, that's when I started using it. So 15 years ago, I've been using Aquifer. Like, I slather my face in it at night and I use it as my lip stuff.
Beauty tips.
Natural
beauty tips like Christy.
I don't know if it's natural beauty, but I am just saying, like, now my Aquifer and a flannel and some jeans and I'm good. I can get ready in 10 minutes too.
And I don't know, we'll have to have the guys weigh in, but I think they think that's hotter than all the extra stuff we pay a lot of money for.
Well, guy or girl, I know it's hotter, like we were just saying, for somebody to be working on their selves internally than it is the external. That, in my opinion, is way hotter.
So going back to the worthiness part and seeking validation, I'm going to just tell this story because it's quite relevant. In my second marriage, I actually married a man that didn't find anything I said funny or remotely entertaining. I have obviously come across people that didn't get me in my lifetime, but we don't have to be super close to have a civil, kind relationship. But to marry someone who found my existence to be utterly annoying in all ways is the greatest sabotage of my life, because I've been told I'm funny since I was 2. So to be stunted in a gifting of mine, why would I even remotely look at that as an option? What was going on in my head for me to give up the greatest gift that I have to seek validation from this man that obviously I bought into everything that was presented?
Do you think that maybe you took it as a challenge? Like, I'm going to overcome his
absolutely
lack of interest in my humor and I'm going to change his mindset on it and win him over?
Absolutely, it was a challenge. And it almost killed me, honestly. It almost killed my whole spirit. There was a point, and I'm not going to say last names here, but my kids were younger, about 7, 8 years younger than they are now. And my youngest was like, "We don't laugh in the house." He said the last name. And when he said that, I was like, holy cow, man. If my kid understands that humor has left the building and that's our greatest gift together as a family, as the 3 of us, I have just done a complete disservice to our joy. And it was very unnerving to figure out. So for me to keep pushing through and try and improve and seek validation, it created such a striving place for me that was insatiable. I could never get to where I was going. I just could never arrive with him. There was just always more to fix or be or dismiss or get rid of in my personality instead of just being adored for who I am. This was a lot of damage for me. And it was the first time in my life that I was now in a contract marriage with this human and trying to figure out how to walk through this season with God and be obedient to God in my contract, but also figure out, what did I just do?
That's sad. I've told my kids Don't pick a mate. I shouldn't say mate because they're kids, but don't pick even a friend because you think that person is cool or unique. Don't strive for that person to like you. You need to determine, do you like that person
Yeah.
based on their values, their behavior, the way they think, the way they talk, the way they treat others, not about their presence or their likes that you think are interesting or neat. And so then you're really happy when, well, they're really cool. And if they think that I'm cool, then that makes me great. I've been there so many times when I look back on my life, I was not basing my judgment of people on them. I was basing
Right.
my judgment of people on how they made me feel.
It's awful. It's not a great way to live. And this is crazy that this podcast is right after the one where we talked about the dream and the ranch and acquiring that. I was at the height of my career and I met this man a month after. He lived on the land already. He was already hired. And when I arrived, it was almost immediate. I am in the height of my career and acquired a 7-year dream. And I want to say this, guys, be very wary of what comes in after you're in that position when you've acquired something so massive, the biggest miracle of your life. Be very clear of what the enemy is possibly bringing in to go ahead and tell you you are not capable of doing this dream. And I'm going to put someone in your life that's going to tell you that daily, that's going to resist and come against what you're trying to do daily. Be very aware of that setup.
And it just reemphasizes the need for us to really rely on God and his leadership in the choices that we're making.
Instead of going into just thriving and knowing God showed me the biggest miracle of my life, now I immediately went into questioning everything about myself. And now I'm insecure and need validation from this human. Otherwise, I'm a loser. I actually was told in one of the drunken stupors that I had no talent. I sucked at photography. He had all of them. And so I'm clear it's a mirror opportunity. That's really how he feels about himself. But the death that was coming out of his mouth, which we've talked about before, right? What was in his heart was coming out of his mouth. And I was just a mirror for him. I had just accomplished the greatest dream of my life. And now I'm being torn down by a person that hadn't probably even accomplished one of his dreams. And I don't know, I don't have any contact with him. I don't know if he's found my podcast and would actually hear this, but I would encourage him to start looking at healing and working through forgiveness so that he can start conquering some of his dreams and goals.
What's interesting to me is that when I hear you talk about that situation, I can see how in other areas, the learnings from that are applied elsewhere because you've been there before and you've learned that lesson and you will never be letting yourself stay in a situation like that again.
Absolutely. When I went through or read a book or something, I'm sure boundaries was involved, honestly. When I finally realized that I was abandoning myself so greatly, I made a promise that I was not going to abandon myself like that again. And all my giftings and talents and love and joy and peace was stolen. I chose that though, you guys. I chose all of it. And so instead of being mad at myself, I was empowered after healing and crying for a year probably and raising 2 kids and crying after 7:30 p.m. so they wouldn't see me crying every day. I finally rose up from the ashes because of my community, which we talked about last week too. It's why I rose from the ashes. It's my relationship with God. It's my dreams. It's because I have a purpose. Your purpose is what gets you out of the pit, by the way, is why I pushed past all of that and actually decided then and there that I would no longer abandon myself. And I've used it many a times since then, many a times in the last 7 years. And there's been more loss, but it's just been such a journey of figuring out, again, the pendulum swing of boundaries and what I'm not okay with.
And I have to believe that there was an element of watching you accomplish these big dreams and goals and wishing on his side, going through the same types of accomplishments too. And so I hate to use the word jealousy, but I don't really know what else to use. I'm just saying that in other scenarios in your life or in my life, when we're seeking validation from someone and we're getting the opposite of that, which we shouldn't be seeking it anyway, we should be getting our validation from God. But when we are, there could be an element of we're pursuing a path that we're supposed to be pursuing. And just like you said, Satan may be bringing something in our way because it's going to derail us. And it could be based on jealousy that that person's not experiencing the same types of fulfillment.
I would say that's absolutely true. The movie A Star is Born came out right around the time of everything just going up in flames, really. And I actually watched that movie with him.
Is that Lady Gaga?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's an alcoholic. And she's getting all this fame or attention and TV. And she's getting an award on the stage. And he comes up drunk, stumbles up the stairs, and pisses himself, basically. I had him watch that movie with me when we were in a time of seeing if we could make this work after we left the ranch. And I was like, I need you to watch this from the perspective of a person that is stepping in front of God's dream and see the craziness of this and how I have to choose something different if you're not on board. There's a quote, I don't know the exact quote, but it's a meme I saw at one point. A passion-filled woman with purpose either needs to be single or have a man that can actually get behind her dreams and goals.
And it goes both ways, I would say, husbands and wives. Humans in general either need to be attached to someone who support and are enrolled in the goal and the vision and want to see it come to fruition, or need to not be attached.
And I think that might be the key reason why people don't go for huge dreams, because they're with someone that has a small mind and no risk. That's why I'm working so hard on what I'm doing with God, because I'm not married right now. And I get a lot done as a single woman. Let's just be super clear on that. It's probably the most I've gotten done in my life was as a single woman, because when I get married, I end up, or have in the past, taken on their goals. I'm going to help them fulfill their goals. I am going to be the mate that's totally supportive of what you want to do, because I love fueling people's dreams and helping them, being a helpmate and being encouraging. But if they don't return that back to me, I completely lose myself in their dreams and mine stop completely.
I could see that. I could also see where not supporting each other and then both stall. So it's like if you're choosing to be in a relationship, you've also got to choose to be supportive and be supported.
Just take an interest. There's nothing more disappointing than someone pouring water on your campfire of passion. Just like, what are you scared of that I'm going to do? You go do your passion. You go get your strong why, and let's support each other together so we don't have to grow apart. We can actually grow together. It doesn't have to be the same goal. It just has to be, I'm passionate, or I get excited to see the passion you have for this. Therefore, I want to watch you complete it. Not that I have to complete it for you.
And also, I think going back to validation, if we're waiting on someone else to validate our goals and dreams, why are we doing that? We should be, again, going to God and saying, this is the desire you put in my heart. How are you going to make it happen? Not to another human to say, what do you think about my dreams and goals? And if you don't validate it, then I'm not going to go for it.
And this goes back to our very first few podcasts. You pick the people in your life to sabotage what you're doing because you ultimately don't want to do it or have fear that you're not capable of doing it. The people you pick in your life and in your community and in your support group is very important.
The choices that were made 20, 30 years ago still have an effect on the situation you're in today. So all the things that we've talked about, not sweeping things under the rug or not being okay with water poured on your dreams, or all the feelings that can make you feel powerless to go after dreams, they've got to be addressed and talked about and fixed, both in yourself and in relationships, before I think you can get to that point of being supportive and being supported.
So the key thing to this is you have to be so grounded and committed in what you're called to do in order to enroll the other person. So if you're wavering on that at all, then there's no buy-in from the other person.
And so grounded in, I'm going to pursue what God made me to be, with or without someone else, if it comes down to that.
You're having adult conversations of, hey, this is what I'm going for and this is what I need support-wise from you. Are you capable of doing that? Can you get behind this, whether you have any solutions for the problems or obstacles that come up for me? Can you just be a supportive person on this journey of what I like to run down this trail? And most people are not a hard no on that. They needed to hear what is support, because a lot of people, I would say, automatically think that they're responsible, especially men, for fixing it and figuring out all the solutions when you're not asking for one solution from them, possibly. So the clarity of conversation is really around what your expectations are of what support looks like, way more than leaving it vague and they're coming up with their own stories. That's annoying when they come back with all their solutions and you're like, wait, that's not what support looks like for me right now. Support is just like, you got this, babe. That's it. How hard is that? You can't do that? And maybe we aren't a good match. But I think almost any human on the earth can be like, you totally got this.
If coming from a place of no jealousy, just pure love, and also wanting to pursue God's plan for other people's life as well as our own.
Here's the thing with jealousy and envy. I don't think anyone that's going for their dreams and passions and purpose are jealous of anyone.
There's no reason to be, because nobody else has their dreams and passions and purpose, right?
So if you're coming from a place of jealousy and envy, you need to rev up some purpose and passion in your life. You're missing the passion, because you would be so busy doing what you're called to do that you wouldn't have time to be jealous.
I think it's jealous of maybe determination, maybe the faith, all the things that go into pursuing something, not necessarily what the thing is, but it's those behaviors. So that takes self-reflection. Am I lacking faith? And so do I need to work on my relationship with God? Am I lacking motivation? Do I need to be asking God, what am I called to do? What gets me excited? What are my talents and gifts? I think whatever the jealousy is around just begs more questions of what's really going on internally and with God that needs to be addressed.
And what are the fears? Because a lot of time in personal growth rooms, if there's a couple and only one person goes to the event and has these transformations and this new languaging and these new tools, the person that stayed at home a lot of times goes into, I'm going to lose them because they're going to outgrow me. Well, then start growing. If you don't want to lose people, grow with, catch up. That's what love is. I am going to strive to be the best person I can be so that I don't have to lose relationships because they outgrow me.
That's absolutely true. When you're not growing, you're standing still. And if you're in a relationship with someone who is growing, they're not looking to be held back.
And they're not searching for validation. And if you used to get validation in your worth from that person and now you aren't, they lost a job title. This is what I used to do for this person, or enabling, or all the things. You're set on this course of passion and purpose. You don't need validation from anyone when you're in that place. So when I come from a place of neediness, of seeking validation, I am not rocking out my purpose as fully as I can be. There's something huge missing.
That's a mic drop. So the person that is growing no longer needs their validation from the other person, which is great. Like you said, they're not looking for validation. The person who maybe isn't growing used to get their validation from that person. They're not giving it to you anymore because they can see clearly that's not how we need to get our validation, right? So both people aren't getting that validation anymore for different reasons. And one person's happy about it and one person's probably resentful about it.
Someone lost a full-time job.
But I don't think the person who lost the full-time job is resentful. I think the person who lost the full-time job is happy about it. I think the person who lost the full-time worker is resentful about it because they don't have that person validating them anymore.
And ultimately, when the person with purpose and passion is going to God to void fill, you are no longer needed for validation.
Right.
I only am seeking validation in others when I don't feel comfortable with what is going on in my life. There's something huge missing. I'm out of integrity with myself somewhere.
And there is a big difference between validation and support. So when you do have someone around you that you would like to have their support on a goal or a dream or an ambition or a desire, it's a nice to have, but it's not a must have. And it's not seeking validation, because if you really feel called by God and you're grounded in what your purpose is, you're going to move forward with or without that support that you would like to have.
Correct. And that's scary to the people that are quote unquote being left behind if they don't get on the train.
Yes.
We can't expect clarity from mirrors that are cracked with their own insecurity. And we can't expect confidence when we have ignored our source for months and years and chosen into another voice. This, in my opinion, is why you absolutely need people around you that are uplifting and encouraging you and exhorting you. Keep in mind, none of that matters if you don't even receive the encouragement. If you have a worthiness issue that blocks all of that anyway. So that's a side note of you do have to be in a place of where you're receptive to people's encouragement.
Also, I think it's about having people around you, but it's also being that for other people. God called us to be part of the body of Christ, and we all are to help support each other. And so it's not just what can you take from others, it's what can you give and when can you be that support to someone else.
That goes into, we've talked about this in the past about gifts and giving and receiving. I know my gift is the gift of exhortation. I am put on this earth to encourage humans, not to validate them, to encourage them so that they can keep going toward whatever they don't have the faith to believe in yet. I'm not going to do it for them. I gave up that need. I'm not going to do anyone else's dreams for them.
And you can't do that.
I can't do it.
So you gave up
I'm
the
not
need to
called
feel
to
like
it.
you could. Right.
I'm stepping in front of God to do that. This is their journey to character build and all of that. There's some pieces around the validation part that need to be said too, is stop trying to prove your worth to people that are committed to never seeing it. Stop measuring your success by whether other people think you are doing well or have talent. Stop seeking validation from others, period, because it doesn't last. It does not fill the void. Stop comparing, period, as it steals your joy. Stop asking others if you're doing it right. There are infinite ways to get across the room and infinite ways on how to finish a task. Their way is not the only way. Stop second guessing yourself because it tells people they should start to second guess you and your abilities. And stop finding your self-worth in others. Most haven't found it on their own for themselves.
That's true. I think we build other people up in our mind. So-and-so has it so together. And if they think I've got it together, then surely that's the case. Probably 9 times out of 10, that person that we think has it all together does not. We all struggle with the same things, and we all have the same insecurities and the same fears and the same need for God. Ultimately, we're all equal in that sense that we can't do anything on our own, that it's all God. So why would another human validating me make me feel any better?
It won't. And I don't know why we keep doing it.
Well, I think it does in some cases. Probably 20 years ago when I felt like I was looking trendy and looked cute and I got noticed for it, it made me feel better about myself. But that's a false sense of security and a false sense of positive self, when in reality, the true peace and comfort in yourself can only come from your relationship with God and knowing that God created you. And I'll speak for myself, my relationship in God, and knowing that God created me exactly how he wanted me to be.
Knowing that you're a full sinner, knowing that you're going to mess up, and absolutely holding you fully capable with him to become the person you were called and created to be.
But only with his strength, with his grace, with his salvation, with his forgiveness. Because like you said, I am a sinner. So that's where it starts. Thank God Jesus died on the cross to pay for my sins, because I couldn't do it myself. Just like I can't do many things in life without God's strength and guidance and removal of barriers. I could go on. All the things that God does for us.
It just goes back to the original quote, is stop looking for validation from people that have none of that figured out. Everything you've just listed, it reminds me of that quote from Carl Jung, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are.
That's a really good one.
And then just really to wrap this up in a nice little package with a bow, I'm going to say it slowly because it's so important to hear. Your worthiness and your lack of self-worth, your need for validation, your striving, that's an addiction, first of all. It will choose your character, your values, your paycheck, your job, your spouse, your boundaries, your treatment, and also the God you serve. Work on this and it will change your life. And that's why it's so important to fill yourself up with God's thoughts on you and who he's created you to be, because otherwise you're just seeking out validation from all these exterior things that will not bring you life. Work on this and this will absolutely change your life.
Absolutely. That's the crux and the truth of everything that we're saying. It's all about about the love and the assurance and the peace that you get from knowing God and becoming who God created you to be. Not anything related to what humans think about you or how they treat you or what they say about you. None of that matters.
And none of it will stick if you're so grounded in Christ.
And we've talked about it before. When we die and go to heaven, it's not going to matter a hill of beans, to pull out my southernness. It won't matter a hill of beans what so-and-so thought about you. They might have thought you were the coolest person in the world, and you might have thought that that was the greatest compliment while you were here on earth. It won't matter.
What is that scripture that talks about don't get excited about praise or negativity? You should be so even-keeled that none of it matters. None of it's swaying you against who you are.
Wouldn't that be so peaceful if things didn't get to you anymore, what other people thought or said?
That would be amazing. And we have plenty of opportunities to practice.
Sure do.
Every day.
Person we meet.
Every person we meet is just another person swinging on a pendulum of their healing and crashing into you. And whatever spills out when you crash into each other is what they have to give right now. And that's why I'm on a personal growth journey for the rest of my life, because I do want to leave a legacy of love, not demolishing pain behind me.
This has been an awesome discussion. Should we look at some reflection questions to carry us through the week and keep it going?
Yes.
All right. The first one we have is, where have I been seeking validation instead of standing in my own value? Also, what voices have I allowed to define me that no longer deserve that power? And what would change in my life if I truly believed I was already enough?
I love the last one, because if we truly believed that we were enough, you would never seek validation from anyone. So have an amazing, enough-filled week, and I hope you step into your enoughness this week. Give it a whirl. Thanks for joining us today. We know your time is valuable, and we hope you have a phenomenal week.
Until our next episode, find more content and social links at stillwithpurpose.com.